Introduction. It all starts with your mind. Everything begins in your mind, regardless of what it is you intend to accomplish, what brings you joy, or how you envision your life unfolding. That is to say, your success in any given job or endeavor, how other people see you, your physical strength, your overall health, and even your level of happiness with your accomplishments are all influenced by your mind, and more especially, your mindset. Making the decision to make a change is the first step towards creating any kind of change in your life. That in and of itself implies that any change must first originate from the inside. Then, along with your preparation and effort, it's your belief in that transformation that will guarantee your success. Ultimately, how you view that change will determine whether or not you find it satisfactory. Examine any of the world's most prosperous individuals. A consistent feature among them is their utterly unyielding dedication and perseverance towards their goals. Consider Arnold Schwarzenegger. It is said that he would even break into the gym on the days when it was closed in order to practice because he was driven to become a great bodybuilder. During his conscription, he even once sneaked out of the army barracks to attend a tournament. If someone is genuinely dedicated to their goals, they will be excited to get up at 5 in the morning every day in order to work out, work on their project, conduct research, learn something new, or train. They never become weary or give up easily. That same dedication and enthusiasm is what enables you to concentrate on tedious tasks, finish ahead of schedule, or recognize breakthroughs that you may have missed otherwise. Just having faith and confidence in your ability and willingness to achieve success is frequently sufficient to attract attention and raise your chances of success. You radiate enthusiasm and confidence when you are genuinely driven and fully confident in yourself, which encourages people to take chances with you. This is known as the law of attraction, and it basically states that you must first believe in yourself before you can expect others to believe in you. But might it be that none of those items are necessary for you? It's possible that you already have all you require to be entirely happy. The challenge lies in accepting and being happy with this fact. Maybe it's just the hedonic treadmill that keeps you stuck in a never-ending cycle of discontent and stops you from really experiencing life and maximizing your connections, opportunities, and life lessons. All of that is going to change. We're going to give you the knowledge and abilities you need to truly take charge of your thoughts, which will enable you to take charge of your body and even your circumstances. Change the situation, don't let the situation change you, Jackie Chan once said. This book will teach you how your brain functions and how that affects your experiences and skills. It will also teach you how to take charge of your brain's operations to change your emotional state, among other things. How to be happier and more content, how to manipulate others by knowing their mental processes. How to boost your confidence and apply the law of attraction to attract anything you desire in life, how to get over your fears and other obstacles. How to master your own mind and get into the best physical shape of your life. How to get more energetic and never again have a lazy evening. How to be captivating, charming, and appealing. How to achieve extraordinary focus and enter a flow states, and much more. Chapter 1: Understanding Your Brain, Some Basic Psychology. The majority of us are usually unaware of how much of a slave we are to our biology, particularly in the area of neurology. The illusion of self-control exists in us. In other words, we believe that we have a voice over our actions and emotions. If we are upset, it's usually because of some injustice. After considering the circumstances, we've determined that being angry is the appropriate course of action. If you're happy, it means that everything in the world is going well and you're satisfied. After gathering all of this information, we decide on our next course of action and how we will carry out that activity. However, the truth is that our minds do not control us. Rather, we are controlled by our minds. Furthermore, our circumstances and bodies also have a major influence on them. We shall always be at the mercy of specific chemicals and will never be aware of them unless we have an understanding of how the brain functions and are able to consciously manage the processes that determine our motives, emotions, and more. You are who? Alright, so let's dive straight in. Who are you? Why are you who you are? To a great part, your brain holds the answer. Additionally, the billions of neurons that make up your brain are tiny cells with tendril-like extensions that reach into the various corners of your skull. These neurons, which can represent a wide range of stimuli like as memories, images, scents, ideas, and even commands to move our bodies, can be formed, killed, or altered by our experiences. A neuron is said to be firing when an electrical impulse passes through it. As a result, we experience the associated phenomena. One could cause someone to see a red light point, another to move their arm, and still another to recall their mother if you were to open up a person's skull and activate specific neurons with an electrode. All of these neurons are linked together, and the frequency with which two neurons fire simultaneously increases their connectivity. As a result, depending on the degree of the firing, also known as action potential, other activity in the vicinity, and the strength of the connection, it is conceivable that other neurons will fire in response to the firing of one. Certain clusters of neurons make up the main brain regions that control specific activities, such as the hippocampus, motor cortex, and occipital lobe. Other neurons extend all the way from one end of the brain to the other. You can already tell that you don't always have complete control over your head. A certain set of neurons will fire in response to an object you view, depending on your memories and comprehension of it. However, depending on the associations you've made throughout that lifetime, it may also cause nearby neurons to fire. Additionally, specific emotions are produced when specific neurons fire. This is due to the fact that neurons connect through synapses, which are tiny openings that exist between an axon, or tail, on one neuron and the dendrites, or arms, on another. The synaptic knob, located at the end of each axon, is packed with substances known as neurotransmitters that are kept in neurovesicles. These neurotransmitters are released when a synapse fires, which modifies the behavior of the surrounding cells as well as the transmission. Certain neurotransmitters are excitatory, meaning they increase the likelihood of additional neurons firing. Others are inhibitory, which makes them more suppressed and less likely to fire. Some play more intricate roles. For instance, some will increase your likelihood of remembering something, while others will either make you happy or unhappy. This is what regulates how you feel about particular situations. Hormones and neurotransmitters are intimately related. Certain neurotransmitters can behave like hormones, and certain hormones can behave like neurotransmitters. In essence, neurotransmitters are created in the brain and have shorter-lasting effects than hormones, which are typically synthesized in the body. Yet, the brain's pituitary gland plays a major role in triggering the body's own hormone production. For example, your brain will become alert when you see a lion because of the associations you have with that image. When relevant neurons fire, they release a variety of neurotransmitters, including dopamine and cortisol, to boost activity and signal that something significant is happening. These neurons fire because they are coded with danger. More of the brain becomes active as a result of this increased activity, and regions near the hypothalamus start to activate the pituitary gland, which results in the production of adrenocorticotropic hormone. At this moment, the adrenal gland will also be activated, releasing the hormone epinephrine, which is basically an adrenaline derivative. The sympathetic nervous system is then altered as a result of this. Physiological changes result from this, including the acceleration of the heart and lungs, a vasoconstriction, thinning of the blood vessels, dilation of the blood vessels leading to muscles, dilation of the pupils, inhibition of erection, sense of dread, anxiety, tunnel vision, thickening of the blood to encourage clotting after injury, pain reduction, contraction of the muscles, shaking, suppression of digestion and immune function. All blood, oxygen, nutrients, and other resources are essentially now directed toward the brain and muscles in order to support movement, escape, and other physical activities. This entire process is involuntary and is solely governed by your body's spontaneous reactions. And it modifies your body's functioning and your way of thinking entirely. It alters how other people see you and has a profound impact on how you interpret all that follows. But these uncontrollably occurring alterations in your body don't only happen during stressful situations. And your body is constantly undergoing a great deal of intricate chemical and hormonal interactions. Chapter 2: The Power of Neurotransmitters. We saw in the case study from the previous chapter how the fight-or-flight response could be triggered by the production of dopamine, adrenaline, and cortisol, among other neurotransmitters. However, prolonged stress also causes something quite similar, but much milder. The form of stress that doesn't go away is known as chronic stress. This isn't a lie, rather, it's an approaching deadline at work, the organizing of a wedding, investing in real estate, debt, issues in relationships, etc. This sets off a very similar stress reaction, which leads to ongoing changes in your body, including impaired digestion and immune system, some tunnel vision, fear and worry, and so on. Thus, extended periods of stress have a detrimental effect on your capacity to distress and relish life's pleasures, but they also have unanticipated detrimental effects on your health. For example, dopamine increases our motivation and focus, but just in stressful situations. As a result, our brains are less active overall, allowing us to concentrate more intently on a narrow range of ideas, feelings, and inputs. Because of this, experiencing eustress might be beneficial and increase your likelihood of studying for a test. However, studies have also shown that it reduces our creativity since it limits our ability to let our minds wander across a wide range of different concepts. In a similar vein, stress hinders our ability to concentrate on anything but the object of our attention. Furthermore, stress can significantly impair your capacity to influence or impress other people. This is due to the fact that stress is an indication of anxiety or fear. When you display these behaviors in front of a rival, it gives the impression that you lack confidence and implies that they should be the one providing guidance to you. In a similar vein, feeling nervous when you approach a possible partner implies, subconsciously, that you think they are better than you and that they are above your level of interest. As you can see, being able to manage your stress reaction may be a great advantage. It can help you concentrate better when needed, run faster, fight harder, or just project total confidence and control when faced with challenging circumstances. More neurotransmitters and what they do. On the other hand, pleasure, exercise, sunlight, exhaustion, darkness, excitement, and other stimuli can cause the release of different neurotransmitters. Additionally, these things have various effects on our mood and capacity for concentration. The neurotransmitter that we refer to as the happiness hormone is called serotonin. In addition to playing a number of other functions, such as reducing hunger and squelching pain by boosting leptin synthesis, this is what gives us a sense of contentment and happiness. Our natural slumbering neurotransmitter is called melatonin. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter that makes the brain less active, which can help to relieve stress and promote sleep. In essence, dopamine is a neurotransmitter linked to behavior with goals. Among other benefits, it sharpens our focus and improves our memory. Memory is significantly impacted by acetylcholine, one of the main excitatory neurotransmitters. Since nitric oxide is a vasodilator, it increases blood flow to the muscles and brain. It also plays a crucial part in assisting us in waking up by stimulating neurons that aren't directly connected. The man hormone known as testosterone is connected to aggressive ideas and actions in addition to motivation and self-assurance. The hormone that is specific to women, estrogen, can significantly affect mood. Stress hormone cortisol increases alertness and induces a sense of impending doom. It is also associated with appetite, This time, it increases our hunger through the action of the hormone in neurotransmitter ghrelin. The neurotransmitter linked to the transmission of pain is the substance P. Additionally, some new study suggests that it is connected to rage. A hormone known as love hormone, oxytocin, makes us more amiable and fosters sentiments of attachment and protectiveness. Among the most prevalent excitatory neurotransmitters, glutamate is found in greater amounts than any other neurotransmitter. The neurotransmitter known as bliss, anandamide, also seems to foster original thought. Again, our ideas and experiences cause the release of these neurotransmitters. Oxytocin fills a mother's brain upon seeing her child, increasing the likelihood that she will bond with them and feel the need to connect. Your body releases anandamide and adrenaline when you ride a roller coaster. After an enjoyable day, your body will be flooded with serotonin, making you feel content and optimistic. To put it succinctly, differing amounts of these distinct neurotransmitters are related to your level of happiness, productivity, creativity, attractiveness, relationships, and much more. Neurotransmitters for incredible abilities. The release of particular neurotransmitters can cause the induction of certain states, some of which are highly pleasant or good. The extensively researched flow state is one instance. When everything seems to be falling into place and you are performing at your highest level, it's called a flow state. This leads to increased responsiveness, enhanced concentration, enhanced problem-solving skills, and more. It occurs, for example, when you're snowboarding and everything seems to slow down at once, enabling you to execute amazing stunts with perfect timing. Additionally, it can occur when you become so engrossed in your job that you neglect to use the restroom or even to glance up from the computer. It also occurs when you converse with a friend late into the night without understanding how long the exchange has lasted. This is, in essence, what it feels like to be fully focused on your creative work. Chemically speaking, it is akin to the fight or flight reaction, but without the accompanying feelings of terror or dread. Rather, there appears to be anandamide released, which improves creative problem-solving and gives adrenaline addicts that thrilling, addicting feeling. The prefrontal cortex, the area linked to planning and self-doubt, appeared to shut down at the same moment, according to brain scans. This eliminates our perception of time passing and enables us to focus entirely on the present. The term temporohypofrontality describes it. It is believed that flow states are responsible for setting all significant sporting records and enabling the majority of extremely successful startups to reach their current levels of success. Imagine, then, being able to instantly enter a state of flow, attaining total concentration and flawless problem-solving abilities. This state's opposite is referred to as the default mode network. This is a network of brain areas that becomes active when we are deeply absorbed in thought, frequently during routine bodily functions like taking a shower. This is thought to have assisted Einstein in coming up with special relativity while he was employed at the patent office. It also enables us to explore various brain regions and make new connections between concepts. Meanwhile, the concept of flashbulb memory demonstrates how, in moments of extreme shock, our brains are capable of forming far clearer memories. Think of the instant you learned of 9/11, for example. Similarly, hysterical strength demonstrates how a sufficiently powerful fight-or-flight reaction can actually enhance muscle fiber recruitment to the extent that mothers have been able to raise vehicles off of their trapped children. The Neurotropics underground movement is one that is intrigued by the notion of harnessing neurotransmitters to achieve greater things. Neurotropics are smart drugs that usually function by promoting the synthesis of certain neurotransmitters while inhibiting the action of others. Similar to the movie Limited, these can have a somewhat stronger effect on memory, focus, or even confidence. The issue with neurotropics is that they frequently have negative effects, haven't been thoroughly studied over an extended period of time, and typically make it more difficult for humans to shift our mental states when necessary. Being really focused won't help if it stifles your creative expression. Fortunately, there are more strategies to promote the right neurotransmitter production to attract the desired mental states. Chapter 3: Improving your mental health with the right food and sleep. It's important to realize that these shifts are caused by more than simply our thoughts in this situation. Our biology, way of life, and the intimate connection between our bodies and thoughts all play significant roles in this. For example, eating causes your serotonin levels to rise. Why? Because foods, particularly carbohydrates, include the amino acid tryptophan. The body reacts to an increase in blood sugar by releasing insulin, which starts the process of absorbing glucose from the blood to be either used for energy or stored as fat. However, tryptophan does not enter the bloodstream and stays there since it is not absorbed. Tryptophan is a precursor or building block of serotonin, therefore this is pumped to the brain where it is transformed into serotonin. For this reason, after eating, your mood usually gets better. Ghrelin is then released as a result, alerting you to when you're getting full and helping you avoid overindulging. That serotonin later transforms into the hormone that promotes sleep, melatonin. This explains why everyone nods off following Christmas dinner. As a result of melatonin's ability to lower brain activity, other inhibitory neurotransmitters such as GABA are released. It may surprise you to learn that darkness also causes melatonin to be released. In the meantime, another inhibitory transmitter called adenosine accumulates in the brain in greater amounts the longer you stay awake. This is partially responsible for our brain fog after a demanding day, since it is a byproduct of how brain cells use energy. All of this simply means that you will undoubtedly start to feel more exhausted at the end of the day and find it more difficult to wake up and accomplish anything worthwhile after a demanding day and large dinner. That's you being at the whim of your biology, not being lazy or uninterested. Let's now assume that we wish to reawaken ourselves. How do we proceed? Going outside or using a bright light is a straightforward solution since sunshine causes the release of cortisol, which when combined with nitric oxide, aids in waking us up. This is the reason it's best to avoid staring at phone screens right before bed. Or perhaps taking a plunge in a frigid shower. This causes the release of testosterone, norepinephrine, and epinephrine, which awakens you and sharpens your focus. The reason for the hairs on your body standing up is adrenaline. Both loud noises and huggers have the power to startle you enough to wake up. Our brains produce less serotonin when we are hungry, which raises the cortisol to stress hormone ratio. This explains why being hungry makes us nervous and why some people experience hangrier feelings. Such contacts are just one of several that can have a significant impact. For example, since pain is associated with anger, this helps to explain why we get irritable when we experience pain. It also clarifies why your dog would eventually turn around and bite you if you continue to flick its ear. Making use of your biology. What, then, are we to make of all this? To begin with, it helps to understand how your biology and natural ebbs and flows play a part. Put another way, if you find yourself feeling extremely stressed out or exhausted, try not to panic too much. Similarly, strive to keep your wrath from impairing your judgment. When we're upset or stressed, we frequently yell at our loved ones, in part because our perspective of the situation has shifted and become more negative. We may even catch ourselves believing that they are just taking advantage of us. Recall that it enrages you. That might just be the outcome of testosterone, cortisol, or a combination of the three. Try not to place too much value on your thoughts. This implies that there are numerous methods by which you might fix your mental state. Take a cold shower and some blue light. Blue light is the word for light that has the same wavelength as the sun to help you wake up. If you're feeling down, you should try to up your serotonin levels, which you can accomplish by eating more food or, more sanely, by taking extra vitamin C. Exercise is another thing that causes the release of serotonin. This is the reason behind what is referred to as the runner's high. Try to get a better night's sleep with the advice in this article if you want to give your best work. As a result, when you wake up, your mind will feel much more alert and there won't be as much brain fog to slow you down or make you feel sleepy. Syncing your schedule with these organic cycles is another piece of advice. Making sure you've finished everything you wanted to do before you eat is crucial if you want to feel satisfied and exhausted after a meal. Do you want to work harder in the evenings? Postpone dinner for 30 minutes. Similarly, acknowledge that you're not as likely to be productive right after lunch. On the other hand, try to think creatively while you're at ease and composed. Combating stress. It's also helpful to know that you may use your body to reduce stress and perhaps prevent panic attacks. This is so because respiration and heart rate are closely related to our sympathetic nervous system, which regulates both our fight-or-flight reaction and the opposing rest and digest response. Breathing rapidly raises your heart rate and causes you to feel more agitated. On the other hand, breathing more deeply and forcefully promotes a much calmer reaction and places you more in the rest and digest stage. Thus, deep breathing is one of the finest strategies for self-calm and for avoiding more severe anxiety. How to upgrade your mental energy. Above all, though, you should make sure you follow the proper diet and maintain good physical health. By significantly boosting your brain's capacity to produce neurotransmitters when required and by providing it with more energy, this will completely change how well your brain functions. Using a multivitamin tablet is one approach to accomplish this. Vitamins such as B12 and B6 are essential for the brain's energy production and for helping to produce a significant amount of neurotransmitters. In addition, zinc, magnesium, vitamin C, and D are utilized in the synthesis of several hormones and neurotransmitters. You will find it simpler to transition from being intensely focused to being calm and creative if you make sure these are a part of your diet. You will also notice that your brain functions longer before being fatigued. Choline, a substance found in eggs that serves as a precursor to acetylcholine, is also very significant because it can enhance your memory, alertness, and sensory perception all at once. Numerous neurotransmitters depend on amino acids, which are present in proteins. The foods that boost brain function and energy levels are also highly significant. Any vasodilators, like garlic, for example, help the brain receive more blood and oxygen, which enables you to remain attentive for longer periods of time. Studies indicate that the bodybuilding supplement creatine, which is also present in red meats, can increase mental vigor and lower adenosine levels, both of which can raise IQ. Because omega-3 fatty acids increase the permeability of cell membranes, neurons are able to communicate with each other more effectively. Regular exercise will increase the number of neural connections in your brain, which will improve your learning capacity through increased neurotrophic factors and plasticity. In addition to reducing stress, this will improve your body's energy efficiency. In summary, if you want to perform at your mental peak, it is critical that you consume a diet rich in nutrients and engage in rigorous exercise. Get more substance and nutrition, stay away from empty calories and junk food, which cause blood sugar to surge and upset our entire system. Get enough sleep, exercise, and run with weights. Your brain will begin to get harder, more efficient, and generally less foggy as soon as you do this. Additionally, you'll become more productive and perform better as a result. Chapter 4: Mindfulness and CBT for improving your mindset. You'll discover that you can regularly improve your mood, your level of wakefulness, and your overall performance by utilizing the strategies in the previous chapter. The second trick, though, involves rapidly altering your attitude and shifting between different mental states. To perform at our best, we really need to be able to switch between being stressed and motivated when something needs our attention, becoming angry during an argument in a controlled way, and turning off and unwinding from work when we get home so that our brains can heal and we can truly enjoy ourselves. Understanding our neurology and having a solid foundation in health will be beneficial. But from now on, we're going to fully command our attention and mental state. It's all about perception. As was previously said, a big portion of our emotions are shaped by our experiences. The mere sight of a lion is sufficient to set off a series of neurological events that lead to extreme arousal on a mental and physical level. You can wake yourself up when you're drowsy by seeing a lion or by taking a cold shower. Your brain has an overabundance of GABA while you're intoxicated. However, in the event that your friend is harmed, the dopamine and adrenaline rush will be sufficient to restore your sobriety and mental clarity, enabling you to handle the situation. However, what if the lion was merely your perception of its presence? What if the lion was present but you were blind to it? In the end, your image of the lion and your thoughts about it are what cause the reaction, not the lion itself. To put it another way, you probably wouldn't have the same fight or flight reaction if you didn't know what a lion was. In fact, you might even think it was cute and experience an oxytocin release instead. Your perception of the circumstances affects how you respond to them, which in turn modifies your emotions and behavior. And in a smaller way, this is truly what occurs constantly throughout our lives. This explains why some people are perpetually at ease and carefree, a trait known as laid back, while other people experience persistent tension and anxiety. Imagine yourself in your office with a terrible deadline that you don't think you'll be able to make. Some of you may be experiencing the fight or flight response right now due to extreme stress. However, some of you may not even experience that reaction and instead discover that you are able to maintain your composure. There is, of course, a perfect balance in this situation. Excessive stress is unhealthy and, in certain situations, can actually make you less productive. This reaction is known as the fight, flight, or freeze response. As previously indicated, though, being overly at ease may prevent you from taking any meaningful action. The truth is that, depending on the circumstances, some individuals may see a lion while others may see a cat. Even though the circumstances are the same, people's responses to the same situation may differ greatly. Your personality, food, health, and life events all play a role in this, but if you know how you can manage it. The idea behind CBT. CBT stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, a kind of psychotherapeutic intervention that is primarily predicated on the ideas we've just covered. This is behaviorism. It says that our associations and the ways we think allow us to reinforce ideas in our minds, which in turn determine our behavior. You will therefore experience stress in part due to the associations and thoughts you have about the circumstance when it arises. You will then begin mentally rehearsing what you anticipate happening, which causes certain brain regions to fire almost as if it were actually happening. Depending on the situation, you could envision being hurt, losing your property to foreclosure, or getting fired. As a result, you may feel nervous, stimulated, and possibly less productive because more stress hormones are released, making it seem as though you were actually in those circumstances. This is the source of many phobias, but it can also cause us to lack confidence in ourselves, be less willing to take calculated chances, and perform below our potential in general. CBT seeks to alter this in two ways: first, by forming new associations, and second, by altering your thoughts and the images in your mind. Even though there is more to it than that, this is the main idea, and the methods employed to achieve it are collectively known as cognitive restructuring. Let's imagine that you wish to conquer your fear of heights or become more composed at work. How might CBT be applied to that? Increasing your awareness of your current ideas, attitudes, and feelings would be the first step. There are several ways you can go about this. Writing in a notebook about your feelings, ideas, and emotions related to the subject that frightens you is one popular technique. In this manner, the mental process causing your fear can be thoroughly dismantled. Utilizing mindfulness is an additional choice. This kind of meditation is about observing the contents of your thoughts while allowing your mind to become detached, rather than about emptying your mind. This procedure alone can aid in preventing a fight-or-flight reaction and is rather soothing. Deconstructing your stressful thoughts might begin once you are aware of what's going through your mind or have the thoughts themselves. For instance, you might see yourself faltering and drawing ridicule if you're terrified of public speaking. Considerations such as "I'm going to fall" may cross your mind if you're terrified of heights. You may not be aware of this, but just by thinking these thoughts strengthens the neural connections and labels the experience as bad or for dangerous, which strengthens the response going forward. You are now going to dissect and attempt to eliminate those beliefs. Thinking outside the box is one method to do this. To be thought-challenged is, in essence, to thoroughly examine your belief and determine whether it has any merit or not. You should consider how probable it is that people will laugh at you and whether or not you would do the same thing if you were terrified of being laughed at on stage. The actuality? The majority of people are considerate and grown enough to simply wait for you to mend your ways. They'll probably just express sympathy if anything. Making backup plans is another way you can assist this process. Stated differently, how can one mitigate the impact of a stutter? Most likely, simply make light of it to diffuse the situation. Furthermore, do you really give a damn what these strangers, whom you'll never see again, think of you? An additional situation could be that you have low-level worry about your work because you fear losing your employment. Suppose you have committed a serious error on a report that won't be revealed for 2 weeks. At this point, you may be concerned that you will receive harsh criticism. Let's approach this rationally and pose a thought-provoking question. Is your supervisor truly that cruel and unjust? There are laws in place to safeguard you, right? Could you perhaps clarify that this was a sincere error? Could you have attributed it to your stress or fatigue at the time? Would you not be able to pick yourself back up if you were fired? Let it soak in as you envision how much more probable it is to go. It's not as frightening now. You've taken that mental lion in each of these scenarios and made it into a cute kitten. Because you now see things differently, you can stay considerably calmer now that the dragon has been neutralized. As you continue to do this, you'll notice that it becomes more and more ingrained in you, becoming a part of who you are. At work, you'll suddenly be able to remain composed in the face of many problems, and soon enough, people will start coming to you for guidance whenever something goes wrong. Hypothesis testing is a different tool that is even more effective than this one. The issue is that, in order to truly be able to conquer a fear or phobia, you must genuinely believe what you're envisioning and thinking. Saying again and again that it's a cat and not a lion is insufficient. You have to genuinely believe it in your heart. How you can persuade yourself of your new ideas and views is therefore the next natural inquiry at this time. Using hypothesis testing, or just convincing yourself that your new views are correct and your old ones were incorrect, is one method of doing so. What does it indicate when someone is terrified to speak in front of an audience? It would require genuinely making a mistake in front of others, or just standing there silently for a while. You're going to have to face your darkest nightmare, experience the worst-case situation, and hopefully convince yourself that there's nothing to be afraid of. When you do this, you should notice that nobody laughs and that everyone just waits nicely. Now that you are aware of the unfoundedness of your anxieties, you will discover that they will cause you considerably less anxiety moving forward. This reminds me a bit of exposure treatment or reassociation. You can eliminate your previous negative associations and form new ones by regularly exposing yourself to the situation that once caused you anxiety. As you start to realize that there is nothing to be terrified of, you may even eventually become desensitized. There was a paratrooper I saw whose pulse rate didn't change from 60 beats per minute to the whole jump. How come? As his body was accustomed to doing it hundreds of times, there was no need for him to be terrified. Even while you can gradually overcome an undesirable physiological reaction by exposing yourself to these risky scenarios, you can build your way up to it if you're not sure how to proceed. One of this strongest and most useful applications? Being immune to social criticism. When speaking with strangers, almost everyone experiences some level of natural apprehension, which sets off a small stress reaction in us. As previously mentioned, this again stems from our evolutionary history and makes us seem insecure and like the lesser partner in the interaction. However, you can eventually entirely overcome any nervousness you may have previously had if you continue to expose yourself to novel social situations, even if you purposely make them difficult. Try ordering from a store, preferably not one close to you, while speaking in a strange accent. They will hand you your belongings and nod nicely without saying anything. Consider striking up a conversation with strangers you meet on the street, or even picking up the phone a little more and making some random phone calls. You'll get less of a stress reaction in the future and develop more accustomed to conversing with strangers as you continue doing this. You'll discover at the end that you can talk in practically any circumstance with total, composed confidence. Chapter 5: The New You, Dressing for Success and More. We previously spoke about how to use thought challenges to break down the worst-case scenarios and to come up with contingencies in order to reduce stress in a work-related crisis. Applying a little reasoning has helped you see the situation differently, and as a result, you've become a lot more cool and peaceful. We've also shown how we may adjust how we react to novel social circumstances, becoming exceptionally composed and easygoing in conversations with strangers to project a fearless image. This is where the changes begin. I made a fleeting mention of the law of attraction in the introduction. We observed that altering one's self-perception could also alter how other people perceive you. Let's examine it in further detail now. The law of attraction, what is it? It may sound odd, yet the majority of us will purchase more costly presents for our friends who are wealthier. Statistics and surveys support this, which is unexpected since one would believe that we would want to purchase more expensive goods for those who couldn't afford them on their own. However, the truth is that affluent individuals possess a greater quantity of possessions and exhibit higher quality items. We need to spend more money on them in order to get them something they would like and something that will fit in. In addition, they most likely spend more money on us than on our less fortunate friends, so we feel compelled to give back. This is a very basic illustration of how the law of attraction operates. In fact, the more positive things you have in your life, the more positive things come your way. The same is true with money. You can't just accumulate wealth by spending it, and you'll naturally invest more if you have more of it. However, it also affects your actions and your self-perception. You'll soon find yourself climbing through the ranks and reaching the top if you honestly don't get freaked out when things go wrong, if you think you're very capable at your job, and if you act accordingly. People believe in you when you believe in yourself. One explanation for this is that self-assured individuals often project an air of confidence through their behavior and attire. A strong sense of confidence may be demonstrated by a straight back, a puffed-up chest, fancier clothing, and more time spent on hairstyling. Just by doing this, you will project an image of more importance and achievement. Your success and importance will now be perceived by others, and your supervisors will unconsciously be more likely to want to delegate additional authority to you. Your colleagues may start coming to you for help because you seem like an expert in your field, and they will also feel more comfortable sending you out to meet clients. Doing all of these things will quickly position you as the best person to receive that raise or promotion, which will lead to your continued success. In a bar, the same rules apply to a male who approaches a lady. He'll be hot, tense, and ugly if he doesn't have confidence in himself and hasn't taught himself to be composed and at ease. However, if he can manage his stress response and has confidence in himself, he will come across as charming, self-assured, and appealing. He is subtly telling the woman that he is a good genetic bet for her children. He must be, or else why would he be so self-assured with her? Regardless of his money, strength, health, or education, there is clearly something about him that inspires confidence. His attractiveness increases as a result, and the woman's neurotransmitters take care of the rest. High testosterone and oxytocin. Transform from the exterior within. Although we have spent a lot of time discussing how to alter your mentality internally, you can also alter it externally. How? You may help yourself feel more confident and appear more confident to others by just taking better care of yourself. This includes improving your appearance, taking better care of your health, and investing money in your own happiness and personal growth. The proverb "dress for the job you want" is rather old. Similarly, it's said that the amount of money you spend on a haircut has a direct bearing on how much money an employer will probably give you. Thus, take a few minutes in the morning to ensure that you appear your best. Work out. Additionally, attend to your health. Ladies, show the world that you're not afraid to stand out by wearing a striking hue of lipstick. Guys, if you don't iron your shirt before going to work, it suggests that you don't value yourself highly enough to care about it, or that you're so sloppy that you didn't have the time or energy to do it. On its own, changing from the outside in is never sufficient. However, you'll discover that the transformation is even more striking when it happens from the inside out. Chapter 6: How to Think About Failure and Risk the Healthy Way. We talked about the significant effects that could result from simply being a little more realistic about stress at work earlier. Next, we discussed the law of attraction and how it may help you become considerably more successful over time by projecting an image of calmness and control onto others. However, why is this the case? Why can't most people better regulate their emotions and maintain composure? Why does our natural reaction be a panic? The explanation is that, compared to the times we live in now, our emotions have evolved during very riskier times. Because it is the mindset that would have offered us the best chance of surviving out in the African savannah, we are inherently risk-averse. Imagine you see an animal in the distance, but you're not sure if it's a lion or a cat. It really wouldn't make sense to treat an unknown animal like a cat in the wild. It makes far more sense to flee and assume the worst instead. However, this isn't the case now. The worst-case scenario of today is actually not all that horrible, and it is most definitely not serious enough to put you in danger. The worst-case scenario is getting yelled at by your boss or experiencing a little financial difficulty. Once you can overcome it, risk aversion will give you the upper hand and enable you to appear the most composed and make the most brave choices. Simultaneously, a small amount of cognitive restructuring might be highly advantageous if you want to alter your overall perspective on risks and challenges. Consider these as chances to develop and learn, to get stronger, and to add some excitement and intrigue to life. By viewing them in this light, you will be able to flourish under duress instead of crumbling. Asking someone out, making financial investments, quitting your job to launch your own business, making a proposal to your significant other, all these actions that give life purpose and vibrancy, often require taking chances. Furthermore, you tried at least if things didn't work out. And if you don't acquire this perspective on challenges? After that, the tension won't go away. Because stress is ingrained in human nature, it is always present. Even in happy circumstances, we all have a tendency to revert to the hedonic treadmill, a state of constant discomfort. It's thought to be what keeps us striving and working, but a regrettable side consequence is that we are never fully satisfied and are never able to truly try something daring and courageous. The real risk is that we continue to be paralyzed by fear or burdened by all of the daily tasks. The true risk is continuing to work at a job you detest every day and never taking advantage of the opportunities life presents for challenge, beauty, or contentment. Even in difficult and stressful times, you should be stressed about it and use that tension to propel yourself toward your objectives. It's simpler to ask for forgiveness than permission, as the saying goes. A nice time never comes around. So simply take a chance and do it. Chapter 7: How to Know What You Want and Go After It. We have discussed utilizing CBT to relieve stress in the last 2 chapters. And we've seen how, in part, the law of attraction can help you develop in your profession in an indirect way. However, how about inspiring yourself to achieve something? What happens if your only feelings of exhaustion and apathy are preventing you from moving? What if you don't know what you want from life or how to set objectives that would allow you to achieve them? Without a clear understanding of your goals, it is difficult to make progress toward them. The vision, not the objective. Our initial step will be to introduce a very slight change in the way you view these concepts. Having a vision rather than a goal will be necessary in this case. How can one distinguish between a goal and a vision? A vision is simultaneously considerably more concrete and abstract. 1 stone should be lost in 10 weeks. The idea is to wake up every morning full of enthusiasm to take on the day and to be the same as you but more attractive, fit, and tan. You would run outside with a healthy-looking tan. What is the more motivating of those 2 things? The vision will be the response for the majority of people. Another wonderful thing about visions is that, while we may not realize it, most of us already possess them. You might not know the answer if I ask you what your life's purpose is. However, you might find it easier if I ask you to simply visualize your ideal existence. Maybe you're enjoying a lovely meal on a stunning beach. Maybe you're the owner of a huge estate. Perhaps you live in a skyscraper and are wealthy. If you're still having trouble coming up with a goal you can work toward, you might want to consider the following. Who are your role models and what qualities do they share? When was the last time you felt wholly content? When you were younger, what career goal did you have? It's okay to have vague desires, for example, wanting to be wealthy, spending more time with your family, or not working is acceptable. Furthermore, it's acceptable if you do have a really specific desire, such as wanting to be a well-known rock star. The next step is to take that vision and break it down into manageable chunks. This is an additional crucial issue, yet many people continue to misunderstand it. As per our previous example, if you are working toward a goal instead of a vision, you can be working toward losing X amount of weight in the end period. This is a good goal, but it's too far away and out of your control to be of much value. When time is of the essence and you have to push yourself to work out, it's far too simple to convince yourself that you'll make up for the lost time. You wind up putting it off or coming up with excuses, and when that period of time has passed and you still haven't accomplished what you had hoped for, you simply feel discouraged, disappointed, and maybe even depressed. This eventually causes you to give up completely. Rather, we take action toward realizing our goal. This calls for planning ahead of time, and you'll frequently discover that doing the seemingly difficult is simpler than you might imagine with a little bit of ingenuity. To become a rock star, for instance, you may choose a less obvious path like starting your own YouTube channel and uploading your songs on a regular basis. An offer for a recording contract is likely to come your way if you gain a sizable enough fan base and demonstrate sufficient talent. In other cases, it might only need following a very simple set of instructions, eating no more than 1,800 calories per day and exercising for 30 minutes 5 times a week are 2 ways to lose weight. An hourly wake-up and 40 minutes of writing before work may be your objective if you want to produce a best-selling novel. These are now really easy actions that you have complete control over. It's all up to you whether you pass or fail. And in the event that you do not succeed, simply try again the following day. There is no delaying anything, every day presents a new task. In the end, this helps to make a goal much easier to stick to, especially if you utilize the popular chain technique of making a calendar with a series of excess so that you will find yourself reluctant to break the sequence by skipping a workout or writing session. Although the stages may appear unrelated to the goal at times, if you follow them consistently every day, week, or month, you will be moving closer to your objective. To achieve your goals, all that's left to do is to inspire yourself and adopt a mindset that will allow you to invest the necessary time and effort. Even when it's pouring rain outside, how do you get yourself to get out of bed at 5 in the morning to go for a run? The solution is to apply CBT in a slightly modified manner by concentrating on the emotional motivations underlying your actions. Stated differently, it is imperative that you both contemplate and experience the vision. The right neurotransmitters will be released as a result, giving you the drive to complete the task. You can also concentrate on what you're attempting to stay away from. Hence, the solution is to simply create the mental connection between that action and the desired result if you're considering running in the morning but lack the motivation to really do it. Imagine yourself in the summertime, running in the sun, looking and feeling like that version of yourself, ripped, healthy, and fit. Consider the sense of never having this much energy, as well as the alternative, steadily losing fitness and feeling worse and worse over time with no way to improve it. If you discover that this isn't working after trying it for a few mornings, you might want to try recording a video or writing a script that you can watch or read when you wake up. Take the following step after feeling the emotion and realizing that the step you're thinking about will bring you there. Chapter 8: 5 Powerful Exercises for Increasing Your Confidence. Developing self-confidence is one of your most effective mental strategies since it will help you feel good about yourself, attract the things you desire, and project an air of control and intensity when speaking. However, how can you just switch off your innate lack of confidence and gain more if you're someone who struggles with it? We're all about confidence, after all, as it's what puts ideas into action. Recognize what self-assurance is. A lot of the time, the term confidence is used quite loosely and carelessly. We often consider it to be a single term that sums up a great deal of our identities, which makes it somewhat harmful. There are 2 types of confidence: good confidence and bad confidence. But in actuality, confidence depends on a lot more context. You can have confidence in one area while lacking it in another. Does the fact that you know you're a great writer even though you believe you're ugly make you feel more confident or less confident? In order to spend more time at the top of your game, you can cultivate confidence in yourself by just concentrating more on your strengths. While this is going on, you should also keep in mind that you can get better at most things. If something makes you feel like you're bad, keep in mind that everyone is bad at first and that you'll get better with practice. We've seen how neural connections get stronger as they fire, and this is how you can eventually excel at any sport or activity. What about the way you look? Well, there are plenty of ways you can make those better. It's helpful to keep in mind, though, that each person is unique and that what is beautiful is highly subjective. You'll attract a lot of individuals if you take pride in your assets and emphasize your positive traits. Accept challenges. It's beneficial, as previously stated, to learn and improve in the areas where you lack proficiency. Because you're exercising your social skills in the same way that you would a muscle, this is why hypothesis testing to become socially bulletproof is so beneficial. You'll notice that as you grow in these areas, you have more tools at your disposal and perceive fewer deficiencies in yourself, which will naturally boost your confidence. The psychology of merely attempting new things and accepting challenges, however, is more significant than this even. Every tiny win will reward you and flood your brain with feel-good hormones, which will encourage you to try again. To boost your confidence and get better at taking on new challenges, try acquiring simple skills like juggling or learning to count in a different language. Every tiny win you achieve will help you grow. Concurrently, the setbacks you experience will contribute to your being more used to occasionally getting back up and more numb to the sensation of failing at something. Once more, this boosts self-esteem. One of the greatest things you can do to boost your self-worth and social confidence is to take on demanding and public work. Then, all you'll have to do is make calls, get excellent clients, and pick up new skills, and every time you do, your self-worth will increase. Envision your success. consider yourself successful before attempting something new. This can allow you to dispel any doubt and increase your confidence by activating parts of your brain as though you had truly achieved it. By telling yourself that it's a challenge rather than an impediment and listening to some motivating music, you can strengthen this even further. Even better, if you continue doing this, it may ultimately turn into a habit, which will cause you to effortlessly see yourself accomplishing every task you take on in the future. Strong pulls. Poses that have been demonstrated to increase testosterone and, consequently, confidence are known as power poses. As if you had just crossed the finish line of a race, try standing up and forming a V with your arms over your head. This is a common position that denotes achievement and can greatly boost your motivation and willpower. Last but not least, make an investment in yourself. After you've taken good care of yourself for a while, you'll start to believe that you should also receive good care. Furthermore, having a lovely home, dressing well, and staying well all contribute to creating a positive internal self-image and increasing self-esteem. Purchasing a quality suit is an investment, not a waste of time or money. In fact, we'll be covering one more tactic to boost confidence in the last chapter, so be sure to tune in. Chapter 9: The simple workout anyone can stick to. As we've seen, getting regular exercise can boost your drive, confidence, and mental vigor. It also gives you greater mental and physical capabilities, which aids in achieving a variety of goals. Being in better physical shape is the ultimate objective for many people. Now let's look at a workout that anyone may undertake and that is appropriate for everyone. The workout. This 21-minute circuit workout will engage every muscle in your body, increase your level of fitness, and help you burn calories. The idea is to do this right before taking a shower in the morning. It's crucial to prepare for the shower in order to save time instead of having to take 2 showers. All the equipment you need to complete this task from home is a pull-up bar installed in your door frame. The workout itself is as follows: 1 minute of pull-ups, 1 minute of press-ups, 1 minute of tuck jumps, 1 minute of incline push-ups, 1 minute of chin-ups, 1 minute of jump squats, 1 minute rest. Try to complete as many repetitions as quickly as you can for each round, then repeat 7 times for a total of 21 minutes. Keep in mind that chin-ups require your hands to be closer together and facing inward, whereas pull-ups require your hands to be facing away from you and wider. Jump squats are just bodyweight squats with a jump at the conclusion. You can switch up the exercises in this workout to get more challenging if you'd like. For example, switching up your squat routine to a kettlebell swing will help you burn fat and gain a lot of muscle in your lower body. Likewise, if you had a pair of dumbbells, you could swap out the chin-ups for bicep curls. On the other hand, if you find the workout too challenging, you can slow down and do fewer repetitions. You can also find ways to modify the movements, like doing push-ups on your knees or pull-ups where you rest your feet lightly on a chair beneath you so that you can use your legs to lift yourself up. You'll notice that your body tone will gradually improve only by practicing this easy routine 5 times a week. The goal is to get better and increase the difficulty of the workout over time. This is a terrific tool for developing motivation as well. If you can find the drive to do it consistently, you'll discover that it's much simpler to make yourself do other things you don't want to do. Like almost anything else, motivation is something that can be learned. Chapter 10: How to maintain a positive and happy mindset. Everything we've already looked at ought to assist you in identifying and pursuing your life's goals. However, what if you were content with your current state of mind? Since that's the main issue. Many of us are unaware that we have a great deal of happiness right now with what we currently have. Where there aren't any lions, we see them everywhere, and our culture is built to promote this. The whole point of capitalism is to persuade people that they need and want things that they actually don't. It is possible to live really simply and still be extremely happy. Consider making the move to a less affluent neighborhood to make your money go further. Additionally, how about exercising, going for walks, or even visiting free museums in place of shelling out a lot of cash on video games and movies? On Amazon, a book costs just $1. This was quite well proved by one study. In essence, the study administered a happiness test to a large number of participants. Some of the participants had awful luck, losing loved ones, breaking their limbs, or getting terminal illnesses. Others had far better luck, including winning the jackpot or getting married to supermodels. Their level of satisfaction was assessed again shortly after these life events, and as one might anticipate, lottery winners scored higher than amputees. However, after 10 years, they discovered that their happiness had returned to normal. This is the so-called the hedonic treadmill once more. It's a persistent, slight dissatisfaction that keeps us going and keeps us from realizing how fortunate we are. Here, the focus is the issue. And when it comes to altering your perspective and finding happiness within yourself, this is the last piece of the puzzle. Your life will always be terrible if you choose to dwell on the bad things that happen to you. You'll always be stressed if you dwell on your tension. However, you can suddenly become much happier if you just concentrate on what you already have and take the time to truly be attentive to your successes, your excellent health, and all the things you have to look forward to. Those who are genuinely skilled at meditation can even use it as a kind of painkiller by trying to avoid thinking about their discomfort. Additionally, you can increase your confidence by concentrating on all of your successes and the aspects of yourself that you find admirable. Over time, this will make you feel better and more confident in yourself. The attitude of gratitude and additional strategies. Try developing a grateful mindset to ensure that you begin to feel more appreciative of everything you already have. Journaling is the most common method for doing this. Try to list 3 things each night for which you are thankful, then take a moment to think about these things. You'll eventually discover that doing this increases your awareness of everything in your life and makes you happy overall. Trying to concentrate on the things you're looking forward to is another strategy. We often fear tasks we don't want to perform, but what if you choose to concentrate on things like your birthday, upcoming holidays, new movies you want to see, or even your favorite cereal? By doing this, you'll have more to live for and be more motivated to go on to the next day. Additionally, you should attempt jotting down any activity ideas that occur to you as they come to mind to ensure that you have plenty of things to do without breaking the bank or becoming stressed out. Consider keeping a journal of all the compliments you receive to help you feel more confident. Recall all the kind words that people say to you and then record them. You can occasionally go over this booklet and remember all those praises. Similarly, you can employ cognitive dissonance to dispel false beliefs about oneself. If you think you're ugly, list the qualities about you that you know are appealing and that no one can dispute. That could entail long brown hair, back dimples, or a thigh gap for a lady. All you need to do is decide what will be your main focus and how much attention it will receive to determine how you want to feel. Conclusion and summary. If you haven't changed drastically overnight, that's okay. A lot of this takes time and practice. However, acknowledging that everything is internal is the first step. Your ability to focus and make sense of the world around you determines your level of enjoyment, drive, fears, personality, and ambitions. Your emotions and neurotransmitters become a powerful instrument that you may utilize to get an advantage in any area of your life once you learn to overcome thousands of years of evolution and achieve control over them. You can be more content, determined, focused, self-assured, and productive. Everything changes as a result, including how you feel about yourself, how other people see you, and how chances start to present themselves. What should you do next, then? How do you begin implementing all of this? To assist you in moving forward, we've given resource sheets and cheat sheets. But, for the time being, try to focus more on the ideas running through your head and how they're preventing you from moving forward. When are you concentrating more on the drawbacks than the advantages? What's the source of your concerns and anxieties? When you have written down your feelings and ideas, question them by dissecting and testing them as needed. After that, begin to consider what you hope to achieve in life. Make sure you live in the vision you have, not just the goal you want to achieve. Experience the feeling that arises from your vision and allow it to motivate you to do all the required actions to reach your goal. However, remember to stop and smell the roses along the road. Keep in mind the things you've already achieved and the things for which you are thankful. The real secret is to embrace each obstacle life presents you with and learn to be content with who you are.